Hi, I'm Kevin, and welcome back to A Tiny Revolution, a podcast about ordinary folks living revolutionary lives. I have been on hiatus for a long while, and I'm very, very happy to be back. But oh my god, I gotta tell you, I needed a break. I needed to just crash out, be a normal person, continue deconstructing from my own bullshit, and figure out what I really fucking cared about and what I wanted to do because I fell into a weird trap of celebrity and I screwed up my finances. And, I kind of went back to square one in the past year and a half to 2 years. Like, being out of the closet for a decade is seriously amazing and hard and beautiful and terrible and sad and lovely. But that is also something apparently called life, you know? But I'll tell you what, it's so much easier outside of the closet. It's so much better because I'm not policing myself all the time. I'm not thinking, oh, does this person, what are they? I'm not thinking about what other people are thinking about. I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about my desires. I'm thinking about my joy, my journey. And not only that, but like the journey of my queer community, the friendships I've created, the relationships that are absolutely fucking real and not predicated on needing to save somebody's soul. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know me at all, hi, I'm Kevin, and I used to be an evangelical Christian. I fully believe that Jesus was the Son of God, born of the Virgin Mary, died on the cross, rose 3 days later, and sits at the right hand of the Father. One day he'll return to the world to judge the living and the dead. I believed that wholeheartedly. And it was because of those things, the judgment part, the possibility of being sent to hell, that I kept myself, almost celibate. It's one of those things where just like we all said, oh, we're struggling with same sex attraction. And sometimes we weren't struggling at all. We were just like, give me the homosexuality when we were sneaking around. If you know, you know. If you were in XK therapy at any point, you know what I'm talking about. I shouldn't joke about that, but let's move on. Let's move on. Anyways, before I get into my written and prepared notes, because I have notes for things I want to talk about today, usually I don't have any notes, so this is progress. I'm going to try and be regular about this, but something that my friend Meg, who is like a marketing genius and storyteller and project manager, she's like, don't think of your online community as like an exchange where people are paying you money for you to give them a product. You're inviting them to support your work. And when you do something that's joyful for you, when you do something that's fun for you, when you do something that's like inspiring for you, that's what's going to be most inspiring for your people. Inspired work, inspired action. And for some reason, I just was getting hung up on this fact of like, oh my God, I want to give the people what they want. Why don't I give you what I want? Why don't I give the world what I have to give rather than thinking I have to fall into a niche or do the same thing I've always been fucking doing? I don't want to do that anymore. I want to create for the joy of it, because when I was living in my shitty basement apartment 10 years ago with my friend Casey, and I got the blue snowball microphone, I was recording over in the corner of a room. I was having fun. I was interviewing every fucking person. I was interviewing Mike McCarg and Hillary McBride and Jen Hatmaker, and say like I went through progressive Christian royalty and became like a B-list celebrity in the Christian world, or the like progressive Christian world. And I got to the pinnacle of what I even wanted. Like 10 years ago when I came out, I wanted to be a speaker on the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. No, of the Gay Christian Network Conference, which is now the Q Christian Fellowship. But I wanted to do that, and then the top of this year, 2025, I got to do that. And you know what I learned? It's nothing special. it it was great. It was wonderful. I was so happy to share my story. But I also recognized how far I've come from needing to be needed in that way, wanting to be wanted in that way. I also thought like my whole career, I thought like that was where it was heading. And, you know, it didn't. Half my books didn't show up for the event for me to sell. I I met some wonderful people, but overall it was like, all right, okay. It's very funny like when you actually like it's very funny when you actually achieve your dream or check something off your bucket list how underwhelming it sometimes can be. I think of like there's like this image of me, or this image of there was a drag race girl who won during COVID, and so she's on the line and says the winner is you, and I can't remember who won. I can see her face, but she said, "Yay, I won!" And then she closed the laptop and she was just home alone in her living room. I'm like, that's what it felt like. It felt like I won, and then I was alone. And that really fucked me up because it was like I thought this was supposed to make me happy. I thought this was supposed to be the thing. And then learning happiness is apparently not contingent upon accomplishing anything, but it's contingent upon the relationships that you keep and how you talk to yourself, the relationship you have with yourself. That's what I've, put that on the list of things I've learned. That's not even on here. This is just off the dome reflections, girly pop. So my evolution over the last 10 years has gone from like cis, gay, male, gay Christian to, definitely a genderqueer witch. And then I'm then definitely a period where I'm a yogi, and then definitely a period where I'm a Buddhist, and then definitely a period where I'm an atheist, and now back around again to skeptical mystic, question mark, to spiritual director for the working class. I do like that moniker that I've kind of like got into because more than ever, especially in the past 2 years, I have been radicalized into a socialist, and we can get into that more later. But I really do believe in us taking care of one another. Like, that's really what's gotten me through this community. Anyways, I actually did compile some notes. I wanted to give you 10 things I've learned since coming out of the closet 10 years ago. And this is not like for every single year, and this is not comprehensive. This is just what was top of mind, of just like if I could give myself 10 years ago like a little bit of advice, this is what I would give. Okay, so this is what I wish I knew coming out of the closet 10 years ago. 1, being queer is dope. Being queer is so dope, doper than I could have ever imagined. Like doing drag, getting my nose pierced, getting my ears pierced, having sex, falling in love, getting my heart broken, getting over my body shame, accepting what I've done and who I am, like with full, unbridled compassion that I never felt when I was a Christian. That is what being queer is for me. It is like God, I feel unbound. Like God does not have any boundaries. I mean, or like any like limitations, so to speak. And like I feel the same way about my spirit now, about the way that I can express. Now, granted, yes, I am limited because of my physical form and my ability and or disability, but it's nowhere near what it was when I was hiding, when I was in the closet. Being queer, and I think, is the greatest thing, the greatest gift I could have ever been given by the universe. Because without it, I don't know if my life would be as beautiful as it is now. Like, I am grateful. I know that it makes me different. I know that like it, puts me at odds with my family sometimes because they don't exactly like some of the things I'm doing. And sometimes it puts me at odds with strangers that I don't know. And it also like puts me in danger because of the political climate in America. And you are going to have to string me up on a fucking wall before I hide who I am ever again. Unless you get me a teaching job in Dubai, in which case I will not talk about being gay in public so I can get that check, you know what I'm saying? Capitalism. Okay, that was number 1. Being queer is dope. Oh, I guess number 10. That was number 10. Being queer is dope. Number 9. Don't be afraid to ask for it, whatever it is. One of my rules in radical honesty is I can always ask for what I want as long as I'm always okay with hearing no. And that's the part where a lot of people get hung up. It's just like, ooh, I gotta be okay with hearing no. And then if you're not okay with hearing no, that's interesting, isn't it? Why do you not feel okay with hearing no? Why do I fear the no? And a lot of people's like rejection or awkwardness. Like, who cares? It really isn't gonna kill you. Ask for it. If you wanna kiss somebody, but you're not sure of the vibe and it's not very clear that they're wanting it from nonverbal cues, just say, hey, if I lean in and kiss you, is that okay? And I've done that before. I've fully done I've fully done the thing where I'm with somebody and I'm like, hey, what are you doing for the rest of the day? Well, I don't know. I'm just like, well, eventually I would like to take you home with me and have sex if that would feel nice. And some people are like, I'll think about it. And then some people say, actually, yeah, that sounds great. And then you do, and it's great. Sometimes people say yes. And so, and not just like for like romantic or sexual things, if you need help, ask for it. If you need money, ask for it. I have been the recipient of so much mutual aid in the past 2 years because I just can't pay the fucking bills like so many other people out here. But you know what? There are people out there who have a little bit extra right now to share. And I'll tell you what, queer people are the most generous people on the planet because there are like 10 non-binary people running 220s together to keep their friend from getting kicked out of their apartment. And they will keep their people housed, and they will provide when it's necessary. Because that is who we are as a community. Going back to number 10, being queer is dope. Number 10, being queer is dope. Number 9, don't be afraid to ask for it, whatever it is. And also, don't be afraid to ask for respect from people. If someone's treating you poorly, you say, hey, I really wish you would not speak to me that way because it makes me feel terrible. Ask for it. And if they say no, then like that's your cue to make some distance. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Ask for it. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to ask for it, okay? Moving on, number 8, relax. There is no hell. I really fucking mean that. Relax, there is no hell. I know that you might feel a certain kind of way or you're scared because it's like burned into your brain, and you might even have nightmares about, thief in the night or left behind. Just, pick your poison. Hell anxiety, it's there. You don't even believe in it, and yet you think that God, who you also don't believe in, is going to send you there. This is something to really, really look at, because a fear of punishment from a God that is not coming to punish you, from some, like magical cosmic parent who's pissed off at you because you killed his son, even though he did it, and then gaslit you into thinking you did it. You know what I'm saying? Because you were bad. Anyways, there's no hell. Whether or not it's Christian or non-Christian, just like there's no proof. Like, we do not know what happens after we die. It might be nothing. It could be everything. But either way, we do not know. And when I learned that, it was like, okay, well, if hell's not real, then what did Jesus die for? Jesus didn't die for anything. Jesus died because he was a rabble rouser. He died because he was a person who became a political force within the ancient Roman world who was causing an uprising among an oppressed population. And so they used him as an example of what happens when you become too bold. Okay? Jesus didn't die because you were bad. Jesus died because the state executed him. The empire executed him. The idea that some people are going to burn forever for finite crimes and some people are going to live forever just because they said a prayer one time, no. Doesn't make sense to me. Wait for the overhead. And if you still struggle with the idea that you might possibly be going to hell, here's some helpful hints. Ask these questions. 1. What happens when I believe the thought I could possibly go to hell? What pictures pop up about past and future? What stories begin swirling in your head? What images come to mind? Where do you go? How do you treat yourself and other people? What happens when you believe the thought? Both in here and in the body. And the second question is, who would you be without it? Like, think of a time, the last time that you were really freaked out about it, and then just try to be in that scenario in your mind without the thought. Someone, let's say, you're at a pride festival and you see a protester and they're holding a sign that says fags burn in hell. But you are there and you're not thinking, they might be right. You're thinking, that's not true. You look at them and for me, if I'm there and I don't have the thought that I'm going to hell, I look at them and I'm like, shit, they really hate themselves. They're really trapped in their anger. That sucks. Because I know how free I am, and I know how free they could be. And so, I pity them, really. And I pity everybody who is afraid of hell, because, God, what a shitty way to live. And just for the record, if the only reason that you are following Jesus is so that you don't burn in hell forever, That's not faith or devotion. That's an exchange of goods for services. You know? Okay. So, yeah. Number 7, this is my rule of radical honesty. Tell the truth all the time to everyone about everything. And this one is hard to keep sometimes because, like, I'm not saying you should just say the first thing that comes to your mind all the time. I'm not saying don't have tact. I'm saying that when push comes to shove, tell the truth. Like, if you're in a relationship and you don't want to be in it anymore, say it. If you're non-monogamous and you're trying to date a monogamous person, but you want to keep having sex with other people, you got to say it. I'm talking about me. I wasn't able to tell the truth early on in my early relationships, and I hurt my partner really badly in a way that I can never undo. Have I worked on it? Have I forgiven myself? Sure, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it could have been avoided if I just told the truth and asked for what I wanted, you know, if I wasn't afraid to ask for it. But I think telling the truth to everyone all the time about everything is an ethos I have to personally live by, because anything less than that really feels bad in my body. I'm not saying you don't have to, like, you can't keep your own secrets, you know? You don't have to tell everyone, but, like, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to feelings, like, and especially with conflict, it is so important that we tell the truth to our friends and family and the people that we consider, like, the people we hold in our heart, our kin. We have to be able to tell the truth all the time to everyone about everything, because frankly, I think, like, it gets us to where we want to go faster. It helps us find the resources that we need. It heals the shame. It resolves the conflict. Because, like, for example, I have an anxious attachment style, and I'm constantly fearful that my friends are quiet quitting our friendship until I say, hey, I missed you. Would you like to have dinner? And, like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. It's like, well, maybe they're just busy, Kevin. Maybe they have their own shit going on. Maybe they're going through something hard themselves, and you haven't asked them because you're just thinking about you. So, I can even say this. Like, I've gone to my friends and said, like, hey, I feel distant from you these days. Is there a way that we can reconnect? Or have I done something that's, like, caused you to want you to distance yourself from me? You know, I've asked that question. And I've also had friends come to me when I've done something wrong to tell me the truth so that I can make it right. It's, you know, and I will tell you that, like, I will make it awkward for people, too. Like, when people try to, like, ghost me in relationships and then I run into you in public and I have to say, so you don't want to see me romantically anymore, is that right? Like, I've done that. And I was like, all right, well, don't be bad at communicating. Like, just let me know ahead of time, like, what you want from this. It's so much better. So, while not easy, I do think it is better. Like, objectively speaking. I mean, I know it's subjective, but I think it's better. Now, granted, this doesn't mean, like, you need to go up to every person and say, I think you're hot, and I want to, like, fuck you in public right now. No, that's a violation of boundaries. I'm talking about with people in your life, people with whom you have a relationship. Tell the truth all the time to everyone about everything. And then also speak the truth to power. Like, you know, tell the truth about what's happening in Palestine. Tell the truth about what's happening in Africa, in Congo, in Tigray. Tell the truth about what's happening in America. In every place that's dominated by the American empire. Tell the truth all the time to everyone about everything, okay? I love that. I won't say I do it perfectly, but I will say I try my damnedest. Okay, number 5. Art and pleasure for the sake of art and pleasure. When I was on vacation recently, my family took me to see my brother get married in Europe. We went to Croatia and Montenegro, and it was wonderful and beautiful, and I cosplayed as a rich woman for a week and a half, and it was amazing. And then I had to come home and ask for some mutual aid. LOL. Isn't that funny? Anyways, when I was in Dublin on my layover, I went to the Oscar Wilde house where he grew up. And it's turned into a museum about his life and his writing. And God, they were short then because the fucking door frames were like here. It was nutso. Anyways, we go to the house, and there's a little video in the beginning, and the video talks about how Oscar Wilde was a part of, like, a counterculture of the time of, like, very buttoned up, very serious British people. And one of the things he and his friends were always saying is art for art's sake. Just making art for the sake of making art. Like making things. Having pleasure for the sake of pleasure. I think a lot of us still have purity culture bound up in our bones. We still think that pleasure is some kind of four-letter word, that it's something that is earned. But it's not. Like sometimes you can just engage with pleasure and art and love for the sake of them, for the sake of feeling good, for the sake of creating something. Well, if I don't, it's like I'm not starting back in on my podcast and creative work because I think it's going to make me famous. I would like it to help me pay the bills possibly, but I'm doing it because I like being a creative. I like doing podcasts. I like talking to interesting people. I'm going to talk about what I want. I'm going to interview who I want when I want, rather than like having to have like a strict schedule. I'm creating for the sake of creation. It's art for art's sake at this point for me. It's for the love of the game, for the love of the community, Like I think that's, to me, like amazing, beautiful, lovely. And I just think that like you should examine if you are in any way opposed to your own pleasure. And I'm not just talking about sexual. I'm talking about in the food that you eat, in the way that you move your body, in the media you consume, the people you spend time with, the hobbies you have. Is it bringing you joy, or are you doing it because it feels like an obligation? Do you have anything in your life that is just, it has to have a sense of leisure? Like, and I know that, like, we often don't think of, like, creativity as leisure time, or art, or make, like, once it becomes a job, once capitalism has its fingers in it, it's hard to think of, for me it was hard to think of podcasting and video making and content creation as pleasure. Because it was like, well, if I do it and nobody watches it, and if nobody becomes boring, if nobody watches it, then nothing changes. And so technically, nothing bad happened. I'm just disappointed because I had an expectation. And if I go into it with low or no expectations, it helps a lot. But I'm just doing it for the sake of it, for the pleasure of it. Because right now, I don't know how long I've been sitting and talking to this camera, but I am having a nice time. I love speaking extemporaneously. Oh, that was number 6, was art and pleasure for their own sake. Number 5, it's okay to be fluid about your faith. It really, really is. Christian A. Smith, who helps run the Faith Community, which is a really, really dope online community. Go check them out. But Christian Smith calls himself spiritually fluid because that's what he is. He's a Christian pastor and also an online pastor, and also like has some Pan-African spirituality woven in. And it's just fucking beautiful. And that's the same approach I have, is like, Jesus still feels like an important figure to me. Like, I see him as like my teacher, if you will. I see him like from the perspective of, like, in yoga, we would call it the guru, the one who has access to God. And even the mere idea of him sometimes helps me get in touch with that. And I can go on more into detail with you there if you want me to talk about Jesus more. But frankly, I don't think... It's like, I want people to meet Jesus so that they can recognize he's not the point. You are. And at the same time, mixing these ideas, these traditions, I think actually strengthens my spirituality, because I literally don't have to be locked into a dogma. I don't have to be convincing anybody of the truth or the validity of my position. I get to engage with what is helpful. I'm not looking for what's true anymore. I put that here too. Like, this is like fluid about your faith / don't look for what is true, look for what is helpful. Because that's the emphasis I do in my work when I'm working with people as a spiritual director. In our soul care sessions, we're not looking for what's true, we are looking for what is helpful. What is going to get you to better? What's going to get you to loosen up your chest a little bit? What's it going to take for you to loosen your belly a little bit? What's it going to take for you to, rather than thinking I'm a piece of shit, to thinking, maybe I'm good. And maybe you just to get to a maybe, you don't even get to the full I'm good. But I say all this because what is helpful is not always going to be in the same religion, in the same spiritual school, in the same realm of thought, in the same philosophy. But you don't have to be nailed down to one thing. You can take what works and leave the rest. And some people are like, oh, that's just like picking and choosing. I'm like, yeah, but if you find what really works for you and you're not appropriating, because like there are so many ideas you can borrow from so many different religious texts, so many different poets. Like, find God wherever God is and engage with them. And by that I mean the human spirit, the deepest parts of us are reflected in all sorts of spiritual paths, and you can find that when you're not afraid of them. When you come at them with like an open heart and love and compassion for yourself. You're not, again, because you're not looking for truth. You're looking for what's helpful. Honestly, it's like these concepts, like, and these practices that we, develop over time, they're helpful because they help show us what is true in the world, in our human relationships. They're helpful because they show us the truth, not because they are true. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And over time, your beliefs are going to shift, okay? And like this kind of leads into my number 4. Beliefs are just thoughts you keep having over and over and over again. Like I might just like these couple just need to be lumped together in some ways, because that is the truth, I think. Because I believe in God. I believe in, God the Father, the maker of heaven and earth, who was blah, blah, blah. I believe, they do all these things. Which is to say, I think that God exists as the Father, the maker of heaven and earth. Creator of all things seen and unseen. Blah, 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 light from light, all that good shit. And that's just a thought that I keep having over and over and over again. And what if the thought was, I love myself no matter what. I accept myself no matter what. I think my body is actually pretty dope. I love the way that I love. I know that I don't do it perfectly all the time. Like, what would happen if that was the center of your focus? If a belief is a thought you keep having over and over and over again, to the point where it is animating your entire world, coloring your entire perspective, you have to change your thoughts. Well, they're intrusive, and there's like, and you still have the power to direct them. Even if you have, I'm going to, to all my OCD girlies out there, it's still possible. I have worked with so many people who suffer from OCD, especially like religious OCD from religious trauma, and meditation helps. Because it's in those moments where you feel the anxiety coming up and you meet it with compassion. You meet it with love. Rather than saying, I want to change it, I want to change it. Like, I don't want to change you. I want to love you. I want to love the part of me that is struggling right now. And I know, like, just from my own practice, from the hundreds of people that I've worked with, when you spend time holding loving thoughts in your attention, more that are like unto it are drawn. Meaning, you have a loving thought and you just concentrate on it for like 15 seconds. More are going to come to it. That's what Abraham Hicks says. But I don't know if it, I've not measured it, but I like that idea. It's a helpful idea. See? If I just give it 15 seconds, what other beautiful thoughts can come to my mind? A lot. So beliefs are just thoughts you keep having. And beliefs can change. Thoughts can change. You can change. Okay? Number 3, a lack of creativity is eventually self-will. A lack of creativity is eventually self-will. This is a line from The Artist's Way. And Julia Cameron is pretty clear about the point that you always can be creative, no matter what. But if you don't just fucking do it, you just have to fucking do it eventually. That's the thing. It's so annoying, isn't it, to say you just do it. Nike, ew, capitalism, again. But eventually at some point, if there's nothing stopping you from doing the thing, it is self-will, eventually. Because yes, the thing is, like, you're depressed because you're not creating. You're depressed because you're not engaging with life in the same way sometimes. And sometimes you're depressed because, like, it's chronic and chemical and situational, sure. But for those of us who have just, like, been in the rut of things just being bad for a good while, I think the antidote is creativity. I think the antidote is getting a hobby, moving your body in some way. You have to do something different other than rotting, especially if you're able. Like, because again, like, disability and poverty will also be like incredibly like emotionally debilitating, and you do need to take care of yourself. But eventually, create a lack of creativity is self-will. If you want to do something and you keep beating yourself up about the fact that you're not doing it, set yourself free and just start. That's what I'm doing right here, right now. Is like I've been pushing it off and pushing it off. And then, it was like your 10-year coming out anniversary is a good a day as any. Just fucking do it. Here I am. Here I am. And it'll go like this. Like, sometimes you'll be at a creative high, or like you'll be at a spiritual. I think the same thing also applies for spiritual practice, because eventually a lack of like if you like, I know that I should meditate, I know I should engage with my practice, I know. If you know, then what's going on? And I think there's a weird shame that we have in our body around perfection. We think that our practice has to be perfect. No, it needs to be helpful. And if you can say, oh yeah, I know for sure that meditating for at least 5 minutes a day can change my life. I've seen how my life changed when I did it. So just do it. Do it right now. Pause the video, take a deep breath, and just sink into whatever it is. Whether it's writing poetry, or painting, or drawing, or creating, or art, or movement, or dance, or working out. Like, just do something, Brenda. And you all are Brenda in this moment, okay? Don't hold yourself back from the thing that's going to give you life just because you feel shame for some fucking reason. Oftentimes, the shame is also desiring some space to be free and express itself. And you can do that when you get creative, brother. Number 2, you don't need to understand. Like, you don't need to understand why they left. You don't need to understand why your parents did what they did. You don't need to understand why the world is so evil and bad. You don't need to understand your own suffering, okay? Because an understanding does not necessitate the healing of that subject. You can understand something perfectly, not to quote the Bible, but to give, it's like, if you fathom all knowledge and you could look at the mountain and say, be removed and thrown into the sea, and could fathom all mysteries, but you don't have love, worthless. And I think that's what happens, is like we get, especially those of us who have like trauma and pain, is like we get hyper fixated on the thing that hurt us, but we never move on from it. We just live in reaction to it. We just try to, it's almost just like we're managing our pain by keeping it in a bubble, but over time it grows and the bubble can't keep it. Y'all ever seen Steven Universe? There's a thing, they have like at the middle of the earth, there's this thing that years earlier they put all these shattered and corrupted beings in, and eventually it grows to the point where it like freaks out. The bubble does not hold anymore. It's crazy. And that's what happens for us, is that we just bubble our trauma and we put it away somewhere hidden deep inside until it grows to the point where we cannot contain it anymore, and then it comes out sideways. You know what I'm saying? Because we think that we need to understand it perfectly. We think that if we just intellectualize it, we think that if we just think about it one more time from another angle, there'll be another possibility, and that is not always true. A lot of the time, it isn't true. Sometimes what you don't need is more understanding. What you need is clarity about what to do next. And not to be annoying, but clarity comes from peace, and peace comes from practice, okay? I know life circumstance can be fucking crazy, but peace is still available to us. And so, like, if you find that you are someone who is constantly trying to understand, constantly trying to, like, work it out in a different way, may I invite you to stop? Just stop. Stop for a minute, baby. Just sit with whatever it is. Sit with the disappointment. Sit with the sorrow. Sit with your suffering, my love. It's okay. It's okay. Alright? You don't need to understand it. And that's another thing. You don't need to understand it because you do. A lot of the times you already understand what it is. You will probably already know what I'm talking about. You understand what it is. You understand the complexities. You understand the shape, the texture. The problem is you don't need to think about it anymore. You've thought it to death. Now you just need to give it some space to be dissolved into love. Whatever it is, you don't always need to understand. Sometimes you just need to accept. And that means accepting reality without wishing it were different. That's what I mean by that. Even if you wish it were different. You can wish it all you want. You're not good or bad for having a feeling, but I'm just telling you what I think might be helpful in helping you find peace. Okay, last one. The number one thing I have learned being out as a queer person for a whole 10 years, for a whole decade, this is probably the only thing that I would stake any sort of anything on. The one thing I would say that I believe, that I think is true with a capital T, is that there is great love for you here. There's great love for you here. And I'm going to say it one more time. There's great love for you here. That's it. I think in the next episode I'll talk more about what I mean by that. But for now, I want you to just, if you hear nothing else from me today or from anybody else, I want you to hear there is great love for you here. And maybe that's the beginning of your practice today. Maybe that's the beginning of your meditation, is there is great love for you here. Hold on to that. Put it at the center of your attention. Hold it there for a few breaths and just see what happens. There is great love for you here. Let that, write that down on a piece of paper and put it somewhere that you're going to see it every day. That's a line from Abraham Hicks that they say it just casually, and they say it like they're getting off the stage during a Q&A, they say, there's great love for you here. Just so casually. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that's it. I don't know, it just it tattooed itself upon my heart, and I'm just like, that is the fucking truth. That at any moment, no matter what's happening, there's great love for you here. No matter how you're feeling, no matter the pain, no matter the suffering, no matter the injustice, there's great love for you here. There's great love for you here. And when there's joy, and when there's kinship, and when there's life, and when there's sex and dancing and food and expansion, there is great love for you here. That to me is gospel, baby. That's what I think Jesus was trying to say. He's like, the kingdom is hand. It's here. But I don't give a fuck about a kingdom, I don't give a fuck about an empire. I don't give a fuck about any single religion. There's great love for you here. Great love for you here. And I want you to experience that. Because I know that as I help other people experience it, I get to keep these things for myself as well. There's great love for you here. That's it. So, okay, I've talked enough, and now I'm going to go edit this and post it and chop it up into social media bits, and I'll see you next week. If you like this, before, let's do the, roll the credits. If you like this video and you want to watch it ad-free, you can go to patreon.com/TheKevinGarcia and join the community for free. And this month when you join as a supporting member, I've got a little gift for you. I'm giving away, a lot of people have already read my first book, Bad Theology Kills, but a lot of people haven't read my first book. And so I am giving away digital and audio copies of Bad Theology Kills for free when you become a supporting member this month as a thank you for, supporting my work. If you liked this episode, please like it and comment and share it. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It really does help. Yeah, I think that's everything. So I guess till next time, take your meds, call your person, shake your ass a little bit, eat something delicious, and tell yourself that you love yourself. All right, there's great love for you here. Bye.